and welcome to today's recent record reviews. I'm Dan.
And I'm Hits.
And we're reviewing records
that are recent.
Hey! And we got someone today.
Vanessa Fernandez.
From Lush 99.5.
Okay.
Hashtag believe in Lush.
Woo!
Wait, did I get a hashtag right?
I listen
Lush
to
loves local.
And Lush loves
And
local.
Yes,
I
that's
also
right.
listen to Lush.
Ah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Also, I listen to Lush. Hashtag.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you got it right.
First band we'll be talking about is Glassmouth. They're young, really young, like fresh.
Yes.
Like a couple of years ago only, they formed a hardcore band in Singapore called Glassmouth. They just released an album called Kill Yourself. It's like fast, filled with crazy riffs.
Very positive album as well.
Yeah, a lot of angst. But it's a nice like hardcore punk metalcore exercise. Great energy and appropriately technical. And I enjoyed like hit banging to it and stuff like that. But that being said, like it's nothing groundbreaking.
Yeah. There's nothing much to it.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell they're very inspired by a lot of like chaotic hardcore bands of the past. You know, you can really hear that, and you can't really hear what is really Glassmouth, I guess.
Sure.
But I guess it's good because this is the first album. You know, this is the first group of like recorded material so far. So obviously there's gonna be more in the future. At least that is something I can look forward to.
Yeah.
Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just gonna like put out a disclaimer where I feel like I'm not the best person to actually comment on metal music or the scene or anything here.
Right.
Okay.
And I just kind of like process it obviously from, well, mainly today, everything I process is like lyrics, arrangement, a little bit of the mix, and then also like vibe.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So I felt like with Glassmouth, what I actually really liked was the lyrics, although this is definitely not an album for anyone who's like really righteous.
Yes.
But I did appreciate that the lyrics were sort of like, there is some sort of insight, but it's also presented quite simply, and I kind of appreciated that.
Yes.
I think I totally agree with you, like very, very technical. You can tell that the band is super, super tight.
Yeah.
I wasn't very sure about the mix though, because like, I was listening to it and I was just like, just felt a bit, I couldn't decide whether it was like a wall of sound or like, I don't know, it was a bit.
You can't really follow what's
Yeah.
going on.
I think they haven't figured out how they want to present that sound.
Yeah.
Like what should be up front and what should be behind. I don't know.
But then with the combination of somebody who has really great lyrics and also really technical, like I want to see what happens.
Exactly.
with them,
Definitely.
yeah.
How would you rate it?
Um,
Over 10?
Over 10.
I'll give it a 6.
6?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna give it a 6 out of 10 as well.
Yeah. I'm giving it a 6.5. I think like it ticks all the boxes when it comes to like hardcore and metalcore, but they haven't separated themselves from the pack just yet.
Yeah. But they're definitely a band to watch in the future.
Yeah. You can find the release on Bandcamp.
And the second record we're going to talk about is Oddisee's newest EP, and the EP is called Alwasta. Is that right?
Alwasta, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Alwasta is actually the newest EP following his album called The Good Life last year. Is that right?
Which is really, really good.
Yes, and he actually came to Singapore end of last year.
Yeah, he played Kilo, one of the tightest live rappers.
Yeah,
I've ever
I
had
totally
the
regret
pleasure
not
of
going.
encountering.
Yeah, me too.
Damn it! Also, you didn't go, so.
I didn't, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks because like I was listening to his EP and I'm actually very impressed by him.
Yep.
Like he has this old school aesthetic, you know, something out of like New York from the 90s, but at the same time he has a really tight flow. His production choices are actually really good, so it's quite varied throughout this EP, even though it's like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
So like I found myself like enjoying it a lot with every listen.
Man.
Yeah.
Like his flow is so impeccable. It's
Yeah,
so good.
yeah.
And you kind of like get dizzy and swept up in his flow, but when you
Yeah.
actually pay attention to his lyrics, they're deep as fuck, man.
Yeah.
It's like really probing, provocative lyrics on like deep issues, going from everything from like racial injustice to slavery to prejudice that's faced by like Muslim Americans in America. So it's great lah. Alwasta is like an Arabic term meaning like a social connector. And that's exactly what this album tries to be.
Yeah.
I actually really, really like this a lot. I think he could have just done away with the first track because it sounded like a weird, like I'm trying to do like a Drake on the chorus.
Right.
It didn't really match the whole album at all. But I really liked No Reservations, which is the second track for the arrangement. Lifting Shadows for the lyrics. Like definitely that social commentary. There's a line in there which is love my country, hate its politics.
Yeah.
I liked it. And then there's a track called Catching Vibes, which I really like for the vibe.
Yes. Okay, actually, I'd like to bring this up with you guys now, especially with Oddisee. He's kind of tagged as like a conscious rapper, you know, hip hop. So, but you know, obviously we've seen rappers like Kendrick Lamar coming out, and they're just as conscious, but they're presenting it in a different fashion. So, how would you guys see conscious hip hop or just like that kind of genre going forward this time?
I feel like this is a throwback to like the 80s, like the Daisy Age kind of conscious hip hop. K-Dot is kind of taking it in a different direction, a bit more like in your face.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I still like this because there's still a place for conscious hip hop like this, just because like it isn't prevalent in like the trap environment, right?
And they don't care about being trendy. I mean, like for me, I actually really like my hip hop political, so I prefer people like a little bit like a Tribe Called Q-Tip or even Mos Def, or so I feel like listening to Oddisee is really nice because I like that kind of poetry in hip hop.
Yeah. Nice. So how would you rate it then?
I'm gonna give this album a 7.5 out of 10.
Yes. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Nice. I echo Vanessa. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I feel that like if you're a newcomer to Oddisee, you'll find a lot of things to love, and if you're already a fan, then this pretty much ticks all the boxes for you. So check it out.
Okay, and the third album that we're going to talk about today is actually Deftones' latest album, is Gore.
Yeah.
So, in case you didn't know, Deftones is actually one of the biggest and probably one of the most like innovative modern metal bands in like the past decade. So, they've risen out from the new metal, I guess like the new metal group, like the group of bands that happened in the late 90s, and they've pretty much developed their own sound, and currently they're kind of operating their own vacuum because obviously there's no trend that they're kind of lumped together with. So with this new album Gore, this is definitely one of the strangest left turns I've seen from them, but probably one of the most satisfying.
Yeah.
But first I want to hear what you have to say.
I mean, like, this is their 8th full-length studio album, and this album actually marks their 20th anniversary as a band.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like shocking or like astonishing to me that they are making work like this good in 2016 with a sound that should be in 2001. This album is great, but it isn't reinventing the wheel or anything. But a lot of people have likened it to White Pony, which is quite amazing because it's considered like their finest work, right? So I really like this album. Like, it brings me back to. I'm super biased. I'm like, I'm a huge Deftones fan, and like so is Dan. And this is kind of like a throwback to like prime Deftones, which is why I rate this so highly. I really love this album.
I think that after their last album Koi no Yokan, which came out in 2012, I was actually kind of afraid for the band because I felt like they were just kind of getting too comfortable with the whole atmospheric, slow burning metal. And with the first listen of Gore, I was actually really disappointed because like it sounded exactly what I was like fearing from them.
You wanted something a bit more punchier.
Because like one thing about the band is that they've always had that balance between like the loud and fast songs and the slower, more melodic and atmospheric songs. So I guess like when I listened to Gore, one thing that really struck me was that this album made me rethink of how I approach when I listen to the band. Whereas like my expectations from like albums like Diamond Eyes or Around the Fur, I know what to expect. And whereas for Gore, they have done something which I couldn't really anticipate. Which I thought I anticipated, but then that was just me approaching the album completely wrong or just like differently. When after listening to it for a few times, I started to like kind of realize the album's brilliance, and especially how they've kind of taken advantage of like Frank Delgado's production work. There's a lot of textures in this album, probably the most textured album to date. And Chino does very well with like the vocal melodies. I guess like you can kind of tell that Stephen there's a bit of tension in Stephen because of there are lesser like metal moments, I guess.
Sure, I'm sure he wants it to like. I'm sure he wants to show.
Yeah, there was this whole thing in the press where like they were taking comments out of context and talking about how like he's not happy with the new album because it is not as metal as like the previous stuff.
Sure.
But I guess like with Chino, he's done a lot of like non-metal stuff like Team Sleep or Palms or like Crosses as well. But I think he has managed to define what he's wanted to do with his side projects with Deftones, surprisingly, when usually it's the opposite.
Right.
When you get like a singer, they want to do something on their own and it doesn't fit their band, so they fully realize that with another project, but this is like the opposite. So
it's interesting.
In the end, it completely surprised me. It's a complete 180, and at the same time, it's something which I've really loved from them for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, what do you think?
Okay. Well, I mean, I thought it was very easy to listen to. I felt a lot of the chunk of the stuff that I really liked was kind of in the middle. My favorite track is actually Xenon. Yeah, just because like in terms of like vibe plus technicality plus arrangement plus like also lyrics, I kind of like that a lot. There's a line in there which is desire in your veins for the violence and the riders of your fate. I don't know, I just like it's very
great. Yeah.
Chino writes great lyrics.
Yeah, super good lyrics. So I actually really liked it, and it has a kind of trendy hipster cover too.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that. Yeah, because like they've always followed their own style, but this new album can fit any indie pop band.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it fits the music very well.
I don't know if that's a joke, but I also was like, you don't expect it. You don't expect Deftones to have this kind of cover. Just like it fucks with your mind a little bit, but in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah.
I suppose isn't like the White Pony cover kind of indie hipster as well?
No, it actually looks like a brand for like cologne to me.
which is just as jarring.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you see around the fur that looks so 90s, right? The picture of like from top down of a girl in a bikini, and like you got the Deftones self-titled where it's like a skull with roses. That's so hard rock and metal, but this is something that was completely like unexpected. How would you rate this album?
I would rate it pretty high actually. I feel like musically it's really tight.
Yeah.
So, and this is probably my favorite, one of my favorites of the 3 records
that you've heard.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna give it an 8.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna give it 8.10 as well.
I'm slightly higher, 8.5. Hey.
Okay, so if you're interested in any of the albums that we've talked about today, you can actually check them out in the description box below. And if you have any albums that you'd like us to review, you can actually mention in the comments section. And don't forget to subscribe.
Peace. Hey.